Hello, children. Welcome back. I hope you have read the first two chapters of your history textbook. Let us move on to the third chapter, ruling the countryside. So, we have seen how the East India Company has gradually acquired political power. Initially, they came to India as traders. Their intention was only to trade, to buy our spices and cloth and sell it in European markets. But gradually, they acquired political power. And we have seen the important stages also. We have seen the various battles it fought with various Indian kings. We have seen what they did in Bengal, what they did in South India. We have seen their wars with Marathas, with Mysore, and in Punjab and Afghanistan. We have seen how they conquered one territory after another. So, in this chapter, we'll be focusing on administration. So, as you know, it's not enough if you conquer a country, you have to rule it. Maybe ruling is more difficult compared to simply conquering, defeating another country. So once you defeat the country, you get political power over that country. That means you have to maintain law and order, you have to take care of the people, you have to collect tax. All these things come under what we call administration. So ruling the countryside. So in this chapter, we'll be focusing on how the British ruled the villages, because cities were unknown actually. So what we are trying to explain actually is applicable for most of the territory, because it was India was mainly villages in those days. Even now, a large chunk of our population lives in villages. Let us see. Ruling the countryside. So we have seen that after the Battle of Plassey, that was in the year 1757, the company placed a puppet king on the throne of Bengal, Mir Jafar, and then he was replaced by Mir Qasim. Again, Mir Qasim was replaced by Mir Jafar. We have seen all this. And finally, they decided, okay, let us get rid of these puppets. Let us become Nawabs of Bengal. So that is what they did. On 12th of August 1765, so 1757, that was the year of Battle of Plassey. 1765, so just a matter of 8 years. Okay, so they became the Nawabs of Bengal. The company became, not a person actually, it is the company that became, you can say, the ruler of Bengal. And the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II, he appointed East India Company as the Diwan of Bengal. You can even say Nawab. Okay. So this happened in the year 1765. And look at the name of the emperor. I told you already, we don't bother to remember the names of emperors after Aurangzeb. Many people even believe that Aurangzeb was the last Mughal emperor. Aurangzeb was not the last Mughal emperor. He was the last, most powerful Mughal emperor. After him, so many emperors came. They came and they went away. So one such emperor was Shah Alam II, and he was a weak emperor, and he had no other alternative. He had to appoint the East India Company. In fact, in a way, they forced him to appoint themselves as the Diwan of Bengal. So what does it mean to the company? The company has acquired power over Bengal. Remember, Bengal doesn't mean just today's West Bengal. It includes various territories in today's West Bengal, Bangladesh, Orissa, Bihar, and even parts of Uttar Pradesh. It was a large area, large territory, and now the company got control over this territory. And when we say Diwan of Bengal, it means they were appointed to collect the tax from the people. Okay. So they were allowed to collect tax, they have to take care of the people. In a way, they became rulers of Bengal. Okay. Let us see what happened next. You should remember this. You should remember this is an important event in the history of British India. Okay, 1765, and the emperor who appointed company as the Diwan of Bengal was Shah Alam II. And the previous event was, we have already seen, Aurangzeb, he granted Farman to the East India Company to conduct trade without paying any tax. So this is maybe the next important event. Okay, so let us see what happened. As Diwan, the company became the chief financial administrator of the territory under its control. So financial administrator, that means the company has to collect the tax. Of course, part of this tax was given to the emperor. Most of it is kept by the company. Some was utilized for running the administration, taking care of the people and all that. Okay. So look at this picture. This is a painting that Robert Clive got painted. So look at this. You can see Robert Clive, the governor of Bengal, and then you can see Shah Alam II. He was granting the Diwani rights to the East India Company. This was an important event. So Robert Clive got it painted, because it was an important event. There were, of course, no photographs, no mobile phones to take a quick photo or video. So everything was done by artists only. Okay. So this was an important event in the history of British India. Okay. Let us see what happened next. The company wanted a large revenue income. Naturally, these people are very greedy. What were they doing earlier? They were trading. They were buying things from Indians, taking these things to the European markets, and they were selling them for huge profits there. That is what the company was doing all the time. Now, how did they buy these things? With gold. The company bought things in India with gold that they brought from England. Now, then they need not rely on that gold. They can simply collect the money from the people, and with the same money they can buy the things from the people, and these things they will take to England or Europe and sell for huge profits. Now, one problem that was solved for the company was they need not bring valuable gold from England. They can simply use the money they collected from the people to buy the things. Okay. Now, the problem for the company is still they are not interested in doing anything political in India. They wanted the Diwani because they wanted to save the gold. So they are not very interested in having an administration, a setup and everything. Anyway, they don't know the people, they don't know the culture, they don't know the customs. So they just, they were not ready yet to have an elaborate system of administration. So what did they do? So actually they relied on the local jamindars. And one more thing we should know now is that at the time Bengal, the entire area was suffering from a deep crisis. Crisis means a very bad situation. Right now we are facing corona crisis. We are in a bad situation. Our economy is bad. Our education is not progressing properly because of the coronavirus. Now, right now we are experiencing one crisis, health crisis. At that time, Bengal was in a severe crisis. What was the crisis? A terrible famine. What is famine? When people don't have enough food to eat, then we call it famine. Now we don't know what is famine. We have excellent food security. Even in these corona days, people have enough food. Government is giving free ration to all the white card holders, and nobody is dying of hunger, at least nowadays. But in that period, in the year 1770, that means exactly 250 years back, a terrible famine, very bad famine took place in Bengal. It was so bad that almost 1 crore people died during this famine. It was not a disease. It was not a disease like coronavirus. It was a condition. That means the crops failed. There were no food grains to eat. People were dying because of hunger. There was nothing to eat. So that happened. It is in fact called as Great Famine of Bengal. Okay, it was a very terrible famine. Just imagine 1 crore people dying just because they did not have enough food to eat. Very terrible indeed. Very sad indeed. Now, what is the government expected to do at that time? They need to do something, right? They need to improve the cultivation. They need to encourage people. They need to give some kind of security to them. Let us see. So this was Cornwallis. This was Cornwallis, the Governor General of Bengal in that period, and he introduced a system of tax collection called permanent settlement. Let us study that. So the company wanted to encourage agriculture so that, and what is the intention? Why do they want to encourage agriculture? Not because it cared for people. They wanted revenue. They wanted money. See, people can pay taxes only when they have enough food to eat, right? So they wanted to help people grow more crops so that they will get a bigger share. Let us see. So they introduced a new system of tax collection that was called permanent settlement. It was introduced in the year 1793. Okay, so it took almost 20 years to come out with this new system of tax collection. Look, and what it did was, I told you already, the company was not willing to set up a big administration. They wanted to use the existing way of tax collection. So what they did was, they recognized the existing Rajas and Talukdars as Jamindars. The company recognized the Rajas and Talukdars. These were actually traditional collectors of tax. So company said, yes, we recognize you as the Jamindars. So don't think that Jamindar means just the owner. In fact, what in those days Jamindar means a person who held land and he did not cultivate that land. The land was cultivated by, farmers. They paid some of that crop as the tax, and he collected the tax, and out of what he got, he used to pay it to the emperor or whoever held the Diwani right. Okay, earlier Nawabs, now it is the East India Company. So the company said, okay, you continue as Jamindars and you collect the tax from the peasants, the tenants, the farmers. Okay, so what is the problem? Let us see. The revenue fixed was so high that the Jamindars found it very difficult to pay. So the company fixed huge tax. So of course, suppose you are growing say 30 bags per acre, and if you say you have to pay 20 bags as tax, naturally you feel that it is too much. Okay, so that is what the Jamindars felt. The company fixed a very huge tax. Okay, and many Jamindars could not pay the tax. And what happened next? They could not pay, and they had to sell the lands away. They had to leave those lands to the company or to some other Jamindar who paid for those lands. Okay, and most Jamindars did not show much interest in developing their lands. They were not very interested in developing the lands. They have to invest so much money to develop the lands, and they were not sure of getting sufficient return. So they did not care. They simply tried to collect as much tax as they can from the farmers, and the company collected as much as it can from the Jamindars. Okay, that is what happened. So on the other hand, the tenant found the system to be extremely oppressive. Tenant means the farmer who was cultivating the land. So look at the chain. We have the tenant who is actually working on the land. Then the land, out of what he cultivated, the money was collected by the Jamindars, and that money, out of that money, some was paid to the East India Company. So what's the problem in the whole thing? The East India Company was trying to extract as much as it can from the Jamindars. The Jamindars were trying to extract as much as they can from the farmers. So ultimately the farmers suffered most, and even small Jamindars suffered because they could not pay the tax the company demanded. So he had to pay very high rent to the jamindars, and his right on the land was insecure. So suppose the jamindar was not happy with one farmer, one tenant, he could easily evict and he can place someone else in his place. So the tenants were not feeling secure. See, when will you cultivate a land? When will you take care of the land? Only when you know that the land will be yours for a long time. Then you will ensure that the land is properly tilled, the land is fertile, and you will take care of the land. But if you don't know, if you are not sure whether you will have the land for the next year or not, you won't bother much, right? So the same thing happened. The tenants, the condition of the tenants was not secure. The position of the jamindar was not secure. So the jamindar is trying to exploit the tenants, and the company is trying to exploit the jamindars. So ultimately, the company benefited a lot by collecting as much as it could, and the tenants suffered the most. So these were the problems that were found with this kind of administration. The system was introduced by Charles Cornwallis. It was called permanent settlement. Why was this called permanent settlement? Because they settled it forever. That means they surveyed the land and they said, okay, you have to pay 20 bags per year, like that. So it was permanent. So every year you have to pay that much. Okay. So, and we have seen the problems associated with this permanent settlement. The problem is that the tax collected was too high. Jamindars could not pay tax. Even if they paid, the tenants suffered so much that they were oppressed. They became, trapped in debt. Okay. So he had to pay very high rent to the jamindars, and he did not feel secure, and he was not sure whether he will have the land next year or not. So these were the problems associated with the permanent settlement introduced by Cornwallis. Okay. In our next class, we'll see two more systems of revenue collection that were introduced by the English East India Company. Okay. Thank you.